How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video. Guys, my throat is a bit bad, so if I sound weird, that's why. Either way, we got Pokemon news, rumors, speculation to talk about, so let's get started with the first thing, which is this right here to us from Soul Silver Art, who says, it's time to go in-depth into what the third legendary is in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is something that we've been speculating. There's a lot of Riddlers, like for example, Eclipse over here, as you may see. He is a Riddler that kind of has been putting out information that is being correct recently. But there's also then Riddler Ku, who has been 100% correct with all his info. So he's been posting a lot of stuff, and I thought we'd take a look at everything here, go in depth on it, what the third legendary is going to be, possibly a brand new dog Pokemon, and loads of stuff. So it says time to go in depth on the third legendary in Scarlet and Violet. There's so many variables, so it's very hard to say, but here are a few theories from me, not just based off of information from Eclipse, starting with this. What if the third legend is at the center of the plot? For a long time, and he continues, it was worshipped in the Scarlet and Violet region for providing light and the type gimmick to the region. Why the connection to light and worship? Well, these other hints from Eclipse tell us more. Not only that, but also I've gone over a million times this gimmick, legendary, and region are connected. So, let's talk about here. Well, basically, Eclipse said the following: professors in Scarlet and Violet study refraction, but not to know more about the gimmick like they've just discovered it. Rather, this time it's already a well-known thing in the region, and they're just testing a better way to recreate the gimmick using natural light, refracting it artificially to achieve so. What he's referring to here is basically that the legendary in this game is got some connection to the gimmick, which has got to do with the little crystal we see in the logo. So that's specifically in the Japanese logo. Those crystals usually hint at the gimmick of the game. That we know for a fact, because that's what they've done in the past throughout the previous games as well. So keep that in mind, right? The other thing, though, that I want to point out specifically here is the fact that he's referring to the fact that this is not something that just discovered. It's something that's existed for a long time, so they're trying to recreate the process naturally using natural light. So basically refracting, artificially in a way, right? So that's the kind of interesting part right here. Then he posted this where he said, Heaven, Light, Origin, Praise the Sun, aka the worship of this legendary Pokemon. So maybe the evil team or someone is worshipping this big legendary, this third legendary that is causing the gimmick to happen. It continues though, saying, of course, is connected to the light spectrum, light, sun, rainbows, colors, and time. But also Christianity and Catholicism, geez, is a huge part of Spain and Portugal now and historically. So thinking the plot and or the third legend could have hints to gods or god, angels, devils, saints, and dragons, very possible, as the Scarlet and Violet region is becoming modernized. The people are forgetting about this third legendary and even trying to replace it and its functions, its light, and its gimmick. Maybe the professor even trapped it somewhere and are experimenting on it to replicate its powers. All of this may change its good nature, right? So it might be a good legendary that goes bad because people have trapped it away. And he continues on, and causes it to retaliate in anger. This is where Koraidon and Miraidon come in. The common theory is that they are the same legendary from the past and the future. Maybe the third legendary is also the same Pokemon, but it represents the present, which is a troubled time. Koraidon and Miraidon have come from the, past future to stop itself, the third legend, from doing harm. If they're the same legendary, it makes sense. If one is an ancient dinosaur with feathers, then it represents dinosaurs and have become basically birds or become birds. So the third legend could totally be a bird, by the way, mistaken for an angel of sorts, which you can see right here, a peacock in a flask representing the stage of alchemical process when the substance breaks out into many colors from the splendor solace. So there you go on that. You can see, while its a future version is an artificial recreation of what its legendary was in the past when it was good too. Of course, this all works if they aren't the same legendary too. Maybe they're all different legendaries, but the main two still come to prevent the third's calamity, which is what I think is going to happen. You can see here, Bias Bulbasaur said, Peacock Dragon is the evil third legendary based on Buddhist and Yazidi religion, with the tail feathers being a rainbow with each type color. It says, the golden peacock used to sit upon the summit watching the rising sun, and that sometimes it's considered like, evil of sorts. So, this theory from Podcast here is wild, but would make sense with what I've been speculating, especially if the third legendary is the personification of sunlight in the Scarlet Violet region. region. I also believe Nemona will have a part to play with this third legendary. Maybe she's trying to free it. And he said here, okay, hold up. This Nemona bit, Nemona and Omen and Nemo equals nothing, and Omen of nothing, the end of all time. If you tie the sun aspect in there, of course, the sun going supernova, destroying everything, turning it to nothing, which is possible, right? Again, all of these connections to the legendary, third legendary, and sunlight and birds. Either way, so he continues on here, of course, saying she's trying to free it, or help it, or restore its faith in humanity, or maybe she's under its influence, or she's a servant of it, or what if she's literally the legendary in disguise? Very wild theory, I know. Like I said, there are many variables here. There could be 4 legendaries for all we know. Also, there was this teaser from Ku. Maybe it has to do with the third legendary, maybe it doesn't, but it would fit my theory of it being a benevolent and malicious. One head being good, the other being bad. Maybe it's not a bird, but a 2-headed dragon. And this is something we already talked about before, that it could be based on this this dragon of sorts, which we mentioned before, which is like kind of like has like 2 heads on each side. It's like a Chinese dragon, I think, of sorts. Here it is, right? So it's this one. It's kind of like a Chinese dragon. I think it's called. It's like kind of what what they base King Ghidorah on. But yeah, it's like a Chinese dragon. It is quite interesting because it has 2 heads, more or less, 1 on each side. So it could be that. It could also just be the Hydra, right? Which is, you know, makes sense. You know, cut off 1 head and 2 will grow back. That whole concept could be what's happening here. We kind of already have a bit of a Hydra Pokemon already. Hydreigon, it's even in the name, so I don't really know about that. There's so much more to come, but I hope you enjoyed my little headcanon based in some leaks, region inspirations, and official footage. Of course, I'm always brought back to the Endalo when thinking of the third legendary too. Could definitely be part of the inspiration. This is this whole thing of like that exists. This whole like I'm not sure if you want to call it mythological, but this man who literally holds, or this individual rather, who holds a literal rainbow from side to side, which is quite strange. Lastly, this thread below, it literally is the basis of this mad theory, and if you want to really get to the root of the discussion, I highly suggest you take a look at this too. However, we're going to jump over to another thing which I think is even more interesting, because with the legendary third one, we're going to talk about that further in the video, but I want to talk about this first. This has been said before, but we literally get a dog-like Pokemon every generation. They even forget 10% Zygarde here. For Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I think the easiest guess would be an Iberian wolf. Even though we've already had many recent wolf Pokemon, it seems likely. If you look back, right, there was a lot of Gen 1. So Gen 1, you had Growlithe. The Gen 2, you had, I guess, Houndour as well as Snubbull or whatever. You've got a Smeargle, you got Electrike, Manectric, whatever, Electric, Manectric. Either way, Lucario even fits into that. Lillipup as well. You've got basically every generation almost, I think. Every gen has had a dog Pokemon introduced, right? Even Yamper there most recently in Generation 8. So there's always a dog Pokemon introduced, which means we're most likely going to get another one. Question though is what it's going to be based on. Well, he speculates an Iberian wolf, which I think would be sick. I do like wolf Pokemon. Sure, we had Zacians, Magenta, Lycanroc, etc., but I still think it would be sick. Either way, he says, someone in the comments also mentioned an ice-type wolf, and my imagination ran wild. How cool would it be straight up to have a wolf made of ice be? As also, may have suggested the Portuguese water dog, and I think that's a great idea. As you can see, most gens actually have more than 1 new dog Pokemon too, so that is true. If you see right here from Lindsay Sensei, he suggested this, the engaging tale of the Portuguese water dog. So I think it would be cool. A water type dog, you know, being popped in, I think it would be sick. We already have like the electric ones, we have the fire ones and whatnot, a lot of normal ones. I think even rock in this case, like Rockruff and all that. So how about we get something different? How about we pop in something brand new that's a little bit on the different end of the spectrum? I think it'd be pretty fun to add in a Portuguese water dog. I think it'd be sick. So that is that, ladies and gents. Let's move on to the next thing. So, first of all, this was posted by Zaptrium as a reply to Blaze Incineroar. Blaze Incineroar is a kind of leak aggregator. He aggregates leaks and just shares them with us and gives his thoughts on them. But Zaptrium here replied to him with an interesting rumor from specifically 4chan, where it says, Switchmons version 9. There will be new Pokemon, apparently, but obviously, or new Pokemon in general. Delibird-like Pokemon that's a fairy type. Not sure if it has 2 types, but it's definitely a fairy. Egg-looking Pokemon that has a color combination and is praised in the region. Wasn't explained why. Different colors made it hard for me to understand or guess typing. So, egg-looking Pokemon, that's strange. Old-looking Pokemon I thought was Lechonk Evo, but its typing is Ice Ground, so I think it might be a fossil Pokemon, and it's vastly different from everything else. Which, speaking of which, we don't really know anything about fossil Pokemon, if we'll be seeing any of them return, or if we'll see any of them revealed. We'll have to wait and see in terms of that. It also noted that it runs through snow easily. Pardamal is a, I guess, fighting Pokemon that loves to fighting Tauros and has a red chest, and people love to gather around and watch them fight. New rarity system for collectors wanting a challenge, which would be sick. These are just what I've read so far. I'll translate more later. I'll come back soon. I do think the idea of there being like a new rarity system for collectors would be sick. I think that would be awesome. As for there being like literally a Pokemon that fights Tauros, in some way I could see it happen, but also it seems like a little bit too on the nose for them to do it, so I don't really know if that's going to be the case. Just going to be giving my honest opinion on that. So let's move on to the next thing, which is also from Blaze and Cineroll. Again, a leak aggregator who says, yep, looks like all the Pokeballs will have the same crystal pattern. Now, what does this mean? Well, the whole crystal pattern could either have to do with mosaics, which is something that's very, very popular in, like, you know, in Spanish and Portuguese, you know, just, I guess, architecture, you could say, right, within their buildings. There's a lot of that, especially churches and stuff have a lot of that as well. You know, just old buildings from the past have a lot of that mosaic kind of design to them. If you look at all these, there is a non-stop persistency of it. There is a mosaic design in the first trailer up there, and one in the you know, kind of like arena that we see here in the second trailer. And if you look at it again, this whole concept, but this mosaic also does look like shattered crystals, almost, you could say, right? Shattered crystals that are refracting all the kinds of light from the rainbow, right? Like a light that's just refracting through it, and it's all the colors of the light, because that's what has to happen with light. It needs to refract to give us all the colors. So, like, you know, it needs to bounce back, basically, for us to be able to see all the colors. So that's maybe what's happening here. This is their way of showcasing a bit of the gimmick in the game, which, again, as mentioned, is most likely related, as far as I can tell, it's most likely related to, like specifically light and the third legendary. So your thoughts would be appreciated on this, lads. But yeah, so what do you guys think about this? Because there's a further piece of information here for Pokemon FM, who said, Saku says there is a teaser in the second trailer for the gym leader, GL. So, and it's probably the battlefield at the end. However, there is an interesting pattern. The circle of types we get in trailer 1, where some speculated to be the league, is similar to that of trailer 2. Which, yes, they definitely are connected, I think. And Pokemon FM said half of the circles, I'm going to just look on this, half of the circles of both are empty and the other have a mixture of color. This may be for a few reasons. Like Souls of Art said, there might be a race theme or some sort of challenge before battling. It is interesting that the colors in the trailer 2 image are traffic lights, which is interesting. That actually is true if you kind of look at it, sort of. Yeah, it kind of is traffic lights almost if you think about it. It can be referring to the types, but the only issue is I hear is that what if other gym leaders have circles with more colors? Is it only 3 colors per gym? It may be type specific, meaning you can be asked to battle with one of 3 types. Or only the following types, for as an example. If green, red, and yellow, that represents grass, fire, and electric, no matter the disadvantage, you're only required to use those types only. I think that is a stretch, but yeah, that's just speculation. But what do you guys think about that? I think that is a bit of a stretch, but you never know, right? Moving on to the next thing, which is what the starter Pokemon might be based on. So, the second starter evolution prediction. So, what are the second stages, I guess, we're going to be based on in this case? Sprigatito, Cave Lion Huntress in this case. For Coco, a lizard wearing a cursed skull, which I think is possible. I'm not sure if he's actually referring to the second stages or just generally the evolutions. And then Quoxley, a Captain Whitebelly Sea Eagle, which, yep, honestly, these all fit really well. And he says, if you think about that the Whitebelly Sea Eagle is not native to Spain, so it doesn't count. Remember that these two are also not native to Hawaii and the UK, so it's not entirely impossible, which is very true. That's something that should be kept in mind. We continue on to the next thing, which is Riddler Coup himself. Now, this is the person who leaks all this information we've been referring to and talking to. He leaks a lot of info, and he's been tweeting a bunch of stuff. In particular, he tweeted out this image showcasing a Donphan. You've got, like, Gliscor. You've got, for love of God, like Baltoy or whatever, Camerupt, etc., and Groudon. Now, all of these, strangely, I think would connect maybe possibly to, like, either this is just him tweeting for fun, because this is from the Chinese version of Pokemon Quest, which is an old game that you guys may not even know about, but it's an old game that was really cool. However, like, nobody can play it, like, the updated version of it. Like, none of us can play it because it literally is only available in China. However, the interesting part is sometimes he leave hints like these without telling us anything. The most recent thing he told us is that the upcoming hints will all be related to, in one way or another, okay, will be related to, and bear with me here, characters. Specifically, in this case, Gym Leader. And he's told us, he already gave us a hint before, but I think this may be another hint here. And everybody's saying the following, which is this is possibly him hinting at the first gym we saw there, the one we saw in the image, maybe being ground typing. Maybe that's the case he's trying to tell us, or maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that has nothing to do with it. But this is what Picosa says. I may be wrong, but these Pokemon Quest pictures he posts sometimes are not hints. He might be playing the game. I also do, so simple and addictive, and likes to inform about new Pokemon available. However, the European version doesn't have all these Hoenn Pokemon that China has, which is true. And then somebody says, like, aren't Fanfi and Donphan already in the game? I thought Gen 2 Pokemon were already in it for China, which is interesting. Yeah, I guess that is true. But in this case, I don't know, guys, what is happening here? Is this, like, ground-type hint? Is that what it is? I don't really know, to be honest. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on it in the comment section down below. So, next up, he's got this. And somebody asked him, is this a riddle? He said, nope. But, you know, we never really know what the deal is. And somebody said here, you know, this is most likely tied to whatever the name of the song is, even if it's... if it even is a song. And he says, yeah, stunning representation by a pop Chinese singer who just turned her career around recently. And again, he's been tweeting about this weirdly, like, recently around this specific subject. But again, I have no context for this. If this is related to riddles, I don't really know. I don't really think so. He's also been tweeting this, which again, this case, he's just showing off that he's collected basically all the Pokemon from the different games and just finished his, I guess, dexes for the most part. I mean, actually, I don't know if he's finished all of them, but Pokemon Go, definitely he's done a good job over there. So basically, he's just showing this off. I don't think there's really any hints here, but again, anytime he tweets, it's worthwhile to take a look at because you never know what he might be holding as a valuable info in there. However, this one is important. This one is quite different. So, Riddler put this out saying, when a waifu turns out to be a lolly of all things, what the heck is going on, lol? And he's got a Hatterini, I think, here being shown off. And people are like trying to figure out what's happening here because he's been telling us there will be a waifu Pokemon, so a more feminine looking Pokemon in these games, actually multiple of them. But and he also says it's going to be like a lolly, like a tiny little, like, you know, anime looking character, I guess. Well, not anime, but just something that's going to look like a little bit more, I guess, childish in nature, I guess, in design. And people are asking, you know, Jordan asks, Hatterini is like that whole stack of kids in a trench coat thing, except it's one kid in a dress and she's floating. And yeah, I don't know, but they did add Hatterini into Pokemon Masters, so there could be that this has nothing to do with riddles or any of that, and it's just something unrelated. But I don't really know. Like, it's a bit confusing. I'm trying to figure out if it has any value to it, if there's anything to learn here. Is it possibly him saying that, oh, there is a Pokemon that's going to be very feminine in design in this game? Like, you know, there might be a Pokemon that's very feminine in its design, but then it turns out to be more like kind of childish as it evolves into its, like, you know, it might go from like a really badass Pokemon or, you know, like very feminine looking to a very kind of childish looking one. I guess that's kind of what I'm assuming from this. I could be totally wrong, but you guys' thoughts and opinions would be, you know, appreciated in the comment section, because again, don't really know what he's referring to here. Maybe a new fairy type, I don't really know, or this is nothing, no value to it at all. Next is Pondcast. Pondcast posted this saying, revising a theory about Professor Sada and them. So he says, Professor Sada, very Tyrantrum vibey, and Turo reminds me of the movie Tron, that to reflect that past and future vibe. I think about how we have gotten fossils and certain legendary and mythic Pokemon originally. They would restore the fossils back to its original form. Then you have a Pokemon like Genesect that was restored from an old bug form, but now has a cannon on its back. Now look at the second legendary Pokemon, which is true. If you look at the second legendary, the Violet one literally does look kind of like that. What if by choosing Scarlet, we restored the regional legendary Pokemon to an original state, and by choosing Violet, we restored a Pokemon with the new advancements? You can even see in the video how it looks like Miraidon has an almost Kevlar textured mouth. Makes me think about Ku's wording, same but different. They're saying fossil but different methods to bring it back, which would also mean that instead of a late game legendary, we would be getting a newly restored low level legendary that would need to be trained and win at gyms to help unlock its full power. Especially if this will be our right Pokemon for this game. This would also tie into the fact that the Iberian Peninsula is an area with one of the largest number of fossil dig sites in the world, around 80 or 60 sites specifically. Perhaps we'll be seeing more Pokemon that will be revived, restored, in like how Lycanroc and Applin had some, you know, game-specific forms and stuff. Each game carrying a set of Pokemon that evolve differently depending on the game. Similar to that of the Burmy coat evolving into a different typing. Wormadam, leading back to Ku saying same but different, quote, just a thought. So, quite interesting, I'm not going to lie, quite an interesting point here. I do think it is possible, but again, there is a lot of ways they can do the future and past thing. If it's going to be restoring these Pokemon from, in like Genesect wise or, Architectile wise, for example, like the classic way, I don't really know. So Picoso said the following: I thought the same at first sight, mountain climbing form. And this is him referring to a post here from Light, who put together a fantastic theory about what the icons can, could be referring to in this case. But he says, when it comes to the circles and zeros, though, I have to give props to Kayla Capsule, the sextant theory here, as I think that they represent either the angle units between you and the sun when navigating, or its index error in this case, which you guys may know if you watched her video. So that is pretty much that in that regard. I think we've gone through those things. There is a massive theory I'm going to get up here for you guys on the screen, which I think is really cool. So sent to me by a viewer, so I thought you guys may enjoy it. So let me just pop this on the screen for you guys so you can take a look at it. Let's see. I'm going to just make sure we find it so we don't miss it, because I think it's really worth it to check it out. So this was sent to me by Arts, or CJ Arts. Yeah, CJ Arts. He sent this my way. So I'm going to open this up in the screen here and show you guys what we're talking about. He specifically kind of discovered that if you look at two very specific Pokemon, they could have been already hinting at things. If you look right here, this is quite interesting, right? You can almost make a connection between these two as well. Now, we already know that, within Pokemon Legends Arceus, there are hints, like Overquill, for example, is a hint towards Gen 9 as well. Even Quillfish is to some extent. But all of them are kind of connected to Gen 9 with Scarlet and Violet. But in this case, is it possible that what we see right here is basically the same thing, with Scizor being basically the future version of this Pokemon that we have more, later on, and then Cleavor is the old school version for the past. I don't know, guys. I think it's really cool. Shout out to CJ Arts for this one. I just want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on it in the comment section down below. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you did enjoy it, drop a like down below. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you all in a later video. We're going to be doing a guide video today and an installation video for our Minecraft server we're going to be playing on, so you guys can see how that's going to work. I'm going to be seeing you guys over there. Thank you so much. My name, of course, has been Ruffled Rowlet. I'll see you next time. Peace out, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.